What's up, my construction entrepreneurs? Tyrone Jones here again. Hey, on this one here, I wanted to talk about right now. I'm bidding on, quite a bit of projects right now, but I'm noticing that the market is super cheap. I mean, the prices that people are turning in for these jobs are just incredibly low, and it's making it very difficult to land a project and create a pipeline of projects right now in the public works. But talking to some other people too, that's in the federal sector of work, is having the same trouble of finding that jobs are just being turned in for cheaper. Also, too, you notice that in the commercial setting as well. So in the commercial, public works, and the federal setting, I'm getting feedback from everyone that it's just a tight market right now. People are turning in cheap pricing, and just the average person or contractor out there is just turning in numbers that's just low in markup, and we're still not getting these projects. So it's forcing us to look at things differently as a whole, and to see where we can actually kind of crunch things down, and then what areas we can crunch at, right? So as you do these numbers, or as we do these numbers for these projects, and you bid job after job after job. So we'll bid job after job after job, and then you just notice that, hey, like myself, I'm coming in second and third place. Now, second and third place are great places to be at. Like if you tell an average person, like, hey, I'm second and third place, when they're used to being sixth and seventh or fourth, or whatever it is, it's a great place to be, but that's not the winner. I'm finding myself 5 to 15% higher than the lowest person. Okay, or the lowest two people. So I have to relook at this, and this is very important to have data. This is why you need to have some type of estimating system, and not just rely on your memory, or your what happened before. You can actually go off of black and white data from jobs that you have repeatedly bid on, and receive feedback on, right? Getting this feedback is a part of estimating. If you are an estimator, or are trying to be an estimator, it is very important that feedback becomes part of your routine, which means that when you submit a bid, you should be reaching out to each general contractor, or each owner, if you're a general contractor that's bidding as a prime, and get feedback on your numbers. Now, that's a tough thing to do, and the timing of it has to be right. I usually set a calendar reminder to reach out to whoever I'm bidding to. Whether if I'm bidding directly to an owner or a general contractor, I'll set a 1 week reminder from the date that I turned in that bid to reach out. And I will most likely reach out sometime after lunch in that day. Okay. Try not to wait to the end of the day, but sometimes around, anywhere from 12 to 3, I'll try to reach out and seek some feedback on that. And then I'll just do 1 week after that, if I don't get a response, until I have given it a few tries, then I'll just let it go. But I try to make those conversations very short, very to the point, and then get off the phone with them as soon as possible, because they don't want to really talk. They don't want, it sounds rather mean, but no one wants to talk to the loser. No one wants to talk to the loser to help the loser get better. Hey, I already got my winner. I'm talking to the winner. Why are you calling me? So I know how it is. So anyone that's bidding to me, I make sure I try to get as much information to them as possible after it's it's safe to do so while still protecting the other bidders involved. Okay, because I don't want to try to give off information to one of my bidders that may put them in a winning position from a person that's already lower, um, timely wise. I don't want to say, prematurely, hey, you're, such and such lower than this person, and then they can still turn around and resubmit that bid to become lower than the lowest person. I don't want that to happen to me, so I try to make sure I'm conscious of that when I'm giving feedback to someone in regards to a project that may still be live. But getting that feedback is very important because it tells you how to respond during these times. So right now, a lot of us, the first thing we'll look at is production. We'll say, hey, you know what, production needs to be crunched, but production always needs to be crunched, and production is something we're always crunching. Whether times are hard or times are not, we're always crunching production. If you realize that, like, we're trying not to leave a whole lot of fluff within our bid. We're trying to give that best number, and the thing that's the hardest to control is labor. So production, we're dealing with labor, is always something that we're trying to give the best price to. So I don't know if that's the route that you should take, because it's such a thing that's hard to control. That's the biggest risk in the construction industry, is labor. So you trying to crunch even more on your labor because you're not getting projects may not be the best step if you're already crunching those numbers like that. So after production, you say, hey, well, what else do I have? If I can't do production, and my numbers are my numbers, my labor rates are my labor, I can't, like, take my guy from 35 an hour to 25 an hour, right? We can't do that, right? We can't just hire a whole new group of individuals, right? So your labor is your labor, so you can't lower the dollars that's dealing with production. It's hard to lower production rates, right? Like the rate of production, how much you're going to get done, how much your crew can actually get done with certain tasks. It's very hard to do that because we're already tight on that. Next, we try to look at is our overhead and profit percentages. Well, a lot of us as owners do not want to adjust that. I think in the beginning, we do, like being newly contractors, we kind of feel that, hey, I can make 20 grand on this instead of 40 grand on this. I can make 10 grand on this instead of 20 grand on this. Now, a lot of times that becomes a lack of experience, right? Because as you grow within your business and you actually have a business with a entire wheelhouse, you know that those numbers are very important, that you land, that you get, and those numbers most times will go down rather than up on most projects. So the number that you're looking at getting for profit and overhead was most likely dwindle than increase. So you're never really trying to change or lower that number if you're especially at your base, right? Everybody should know their bottom base. Like, hey, we're not going lower than this, okay? Which will also tell you we should not be going above this percentage as well, So you knowing your base, you're just like, hey, dude, I cannot go. If I go any lower than this, then I'll be breaking even, or losing, which are the same for me. Breaking even and losing are the same because you're not winning anything. So you're losing to me. That's just my opinion. So applying your break even number to it, you're like, dude, I cannot go no lower than this. How is anyone doing prices cheaper than this? How? How are they doing prices cheaper than this? And then you really look at it, and you really say, man, so what do I do next? How do I survive or make sure that we're still bringing in that pipeline of work during this time? If one, I can't mess with my production, that's locked in place, right? I can't lower my material costs. My material cost is my material cost. That's it, right? Whatever you have material costs, unless you go in there with a lower quality of material, which you don't want to do because that creates a whole ripple of other problems. You can't lower your guys, right? What they get paid, their wages. Sometimes that's regulated in most industries like public works. But that's a hard conversation. You can't really do that. You're already at the bottom of your profit and overhead percentages. What else can you do to try to land projects during a cheap market? The next thing I would probably look at is maybe look at marking up lesser on a project. So what do I mean by that? So let's take into account there's things that we mark up on this project that gets us to a overall profit and overhead, right? So we mark up the labor, right? There's a labor cost that we mark up with our profit and overhead. There's material cost that we mark up with our profit and overhead. There's a service cost that we mark up with our profit and overhead. Say services, maybe we got to pay for special inspections. Maybe we have to pay for a trucking service, right? And things like that, So there's services that we mark up and with our profit and overhead. And then there's also the percentages that we mark up, like our labor burden that we'll mark up with our profit and overhead. We may mark up fringes, right? In the public works sector of work, we have fringes that covers employees' health and welfare, training, and things like that. That goes, that covers. That's in line with what unions would pay, right? So you have fringes that you mark up with your profit and overhead. Some of us, right? We have. I think I said the labor burden, labor. So we got all these percentages that are all these totals that is a total package that gets marked up with our profit and overhead. What I'm stating is to mark up a lesser amount of that project. So basically, instead of marking up fringes, you remove that total from your bid. Now, to do that, you need to be your estimate program, your estimating program needs to be set up to identify what that number is separately. Okay, all your estimating program that you use or eventually will get should have those different categories on there so you can understand what that separate cost is for each item. Raw labor, labor burden, overhead and profit, fringes, all that should be spelled out for you within your estimating program. That's it. So, not marking up fringes is a way to go, right? Which means that now you need to know what is your minimum that you need to get for this project. You may go off your minimum by saying, I know over time this is the minimum I need to be making per day for each project. Okay, you may have that already. You may say, hey, you know what? To get my minimum, I'll look at data. What did I do the last 2 years? What was I making the last 2 years on projects? What percentage was I truly making when things were said and done? Project 100% completed. No more billing, no more invoicing, no more RFIs, no more changes, no more nothing. What did I actually truly make? And looking at that over a period of time, you can actually see what you're making per job per day. Okay, and you can come up with an average that way. You can, like I said, come up with an average. Like, hey, I want to make X amount per day. You can You can also do a combination of saying, hey, my my overhead needs to be at this percentage on the projects. So that's that percentage is that, and then maybe you can play with your profit percentage, right? You can do it as that way too, right? So I'm just giving different examples on how you can look at adjusting this. So locking in your overhead percentage, and then only have that, and then playing with the rest of the percentages as you move up onto your profits. Looking at it that way. Um, Maybe not marking up the fringes and the labor burden percentages, those dollar totals, right? And then going after a marking up a lesser amount. So basically, we're not including these totals within the overall grams scheme of things, and we're trying to mark up a lesser cost of the job to try to be a little bit more competitive. Now, is this something that we always want to do? No, 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 not at all. We don't even want to do it now. But how are you to fight in a cheaper market to get work? You can't, us going there and saying, hey, let's look, it's going to take those guys uh, 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 25 days instead of 35 days. You might want to be careful with that, you know. But it all, also it does help bringing in the foreman, the superintendent, and kind of getting a different perspective or view on what how they can really do the project. Um, that can work. You just really have to ask your superintendents and your foreman really key questions to really get that true information out of there, because everybody always think that they can do things faster, and once they get on the actual job, and there's unforeseen things that delays and issues and things that can happen, and sometimes you just get to a place where um, in a perfect world, this is what can happen here. And sometimes that can get you a job, and sometimes you get the job, and that perfect world scenario will just bury you out there. And that's the gamble. That's the gamble in estimating. That's why it's an estimate. You know, but you can bring the people in that will be working those jobs and get them on the same page on, hey, this is how we're going to approach this. Is this the best way to do this? What do you think you can actually get done here? Let's look at this project. Let's pull up Google Maps, kind of look at the surroundings, lay out a few scenarios, and figure out what's the best way we can go about it that we can really count on. Not just assume, can really, really count on. And that's how you go about this. And then you can actually put some projects on the board. You can actually create some projects in the pipeline and keep this crew, get your guys busy, and continue to move forward. But I I wish everybody the best. Hopefully this information was helpful. Hopefully, um, maybe this might give you some other pointers. Might give you some other pointers on what you think about that you can actually share. And if you do have them, hey, share them. Let us know. I'll put them on the table. Let us know what you did through these hard times, and through where you're noticing a lot of people just turning in cheap numbers. And what are you doing to battle against that, and get more work? How are you putting that together? Let us know. Maybe you got some great ideas. Maybe once we all put our heads together, we can figure out a better way to land more projects. But hey, my construction entrepreneurs, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you agree, disagree, or even have an option or opinion. But I'm gonna let you go. Let's go with that. Hustle hard, then hustle harder. Catch you on the next one. Thanks. What's up? Hey, before we go, I want to make sure you guys check online. Check out our new subcontractor agreement we have on there. It's a legit subcontractor agreement that you can have as a general contractor to your subcontractor. And even if you're a second tier, third tier contractor, you can also use that contract for the tiers below you, the subcontractors that you may hire as a subcontractor. So check that out. It'll be priced reasonably. Make sure you stay on top of our content and what we have available on our website to help you out in your business from now and in the future. Thanks.